What would you do if you discovered that your crazy ghost-hunting uncle left you a house after his death, only to discover when you inherit it that it contains many vengeful and powerful ghosts who are out for blood? Well, chances are you're not going to have a very good time, and that's exactly what happens in 13 Ghosts. Released in 2001, this horrific ghost story sees the financially struggling Arthur, played by Tony Shalhoub, and his two kids, Bobby and Kathy, played by Shannon Elizabeth, where they move into a mansion that was left to them by their crazy ghost-capturing relative, where they are greeted by Dennis, played by Matthew Lillard, only to discover that it's a house of horrors, full of terrifying, vengeful spirits, and the only way you can see these spirits is if you wear special glasses, which allows you to see the spirit realm. Yeah, everyone usually talks about how creepy the ghosts are in this movie, but to me, I've always found the house itself to be creepier. It's full of freaky glass walls, death traps, and steampunk-looking technology, as the house itself is described as being a machine that can see the past, present, and future, and is powered by, of course, 13 ghosts. So, seeing how I recently did a ghost ship video and you guys all loved it, I thought I'd look at another early 2000s ghost movie that also starts off with someone getting cut in half. That being 13 Ghosts. Only unlike Ghost Ship, where the slicing and dicing was horizontal, in 13 Ghosts, it's vertical. So now that I've got those important details out of the way, 10 things that you didn't know about 13 Ghosts. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. That's right, absolutely nothing, and it's yours for free. Let's check it out. Number 10, 13 Ghosts is a remake. Well, yeah, believe it or not, but 13 Ghosts is a remake of a 1960 movie, also called 13 Ghosts, which was directed by William Castle, who in his career was known for his enjoyable schlock B-movies, as well as making single-set movies. He also directed the original House on Haunted Hill in 1959, so he clearly had an interest in ghost stories. According to the remake's producer Joel Silver, Castle got the idea of 13 Ghosts one day when he went to an eye doctor, who put one of those old school eye testing devices on William's head, where the eye doctor was sliding through different lenses over Castle's eyes. And all these different lenses made him think, wow, imagine if one of these lenses could make you see ghosts. The original 13 Ghosts had a similar backstory to the 2001 remake, in that it's about a family being left a house by a supernatural enthusiast relative, which featured the ghosts that said relative had captured. And the ghosts can be seen through special eyewear, which admittedly in 1960 didn't look as cool as they did in 2001. What I find interesting is the family is told that they must stay in the house, and that they can't sell it or it will be turned to the state. The original also had a subplot about finding hidden treasure in the house. So it has very similar themes to the House on Haunted Hill, which is a concept that asks you the viewer, would you encounter terrors from beyond our understanding in order to receive financial gain? Admittedly, the original 13 Ghosts wasn't as remembered as the House on Haunted Hill, as it was opened up to mixed reviews that saw it as kind of gimmicky. But as far as being a fun B-horror movie of its time, yeah, it works. Number 9, the second Dark Castle movie. 13 Ghosts was produced by Back to the Future director Robert Zemeckis and Die Hard producer Joel Silver, as well as Gilbert Adler. Zemeckis and Silver had previously produced the Tales from the Crypt TV series, but after that show had fizzled out, they decided to make Tales from the Crypt themed movies, where Silver and Zemeckis teamed up with Adler to produce Demon Knight, as well as Bordello of Blood, which Adler also wrote and directed. It's here that the three producers decided not to focus on a Tales from the Crypt anthology film series, but to make their own horror movie production company called Dark Castle Entertainment, which was to focus on remaking old classic horror movies. In fact, several sources claim that the plan was for Dark Castle Entertainment was to remake horror movies by William Castle, hence the name of the company, Dark Castle. And the first movie the company had produced was the 1999 remake of House on Haunted Hill. So after that movie's release, Dark Castle then focused on their next William Castle remake, that of course being 13 Ghosts. You see, it's weird basing a movie company on remaking just one particular filmmaker's movies. That'd be like if I made a movie company based on remaking, I don't know, Quentin Tarantino movies and calling it Tarantino's Royale with Cheese. Please, don't anyone actually do that. Number 8, directed by an Industrial Light and Magic employee. So considering that 13 Ghosts is a big special effects spectacle of a movie, it would make sense for the movie itself to be directed by a filmmaker who knows a thing or two about special effects. This is where Steve Beck comes into the picture, as he directed 13 Ghosts. However, beforehand, Beck worked for the George Lucas founded special effects company Industrial Light and Magic. Beck actually started his career making commercials for brands like McDonald's and Gatorade. But after that, he would work as a special effects art director for Industrial Light and Magic, for the movies Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Abyss, and The Hunt for Red October. So the guy who gave us that horrific "What's Happening to Me" scene from The Last Crusade also directed 13 Ghosts. Well, that actually makes sense when you think about it. Beck would also go on to direct Dark Castle's next movie, Ghost Ship, which came out the following year. But sadly after that, he didn't direct another movie, and I think that's a shame, as his movies are very well shot. Number 7, filming location. So if you head out to try and find the truly remarkable house from 13 Ghosts so you can marvel at it for yourself, well, I hate to tell you this, but the house simply doesn't exist. Nope, all that's there at the location is just empty grass and trees and no house. That's because the house in the movie was entirely CGI, with the house being added to the footage in post. The filming itself took place at British Columbia, Canada. Most of the movie's filming actually took place on sets and sound stages at the Bridge Studios, also in British Columbia. I've always found the design of the house to look very fascinating, what with its glass walls and doors and technical mechanisms. It always reminded me of the movie Cube, and like Cube, there are even gruesome death traps. In fact, the scene where the lawyer gets split in half feels like it could have come directly out of Cube. And as mentioned in the intro, I can't help but feel like a lot of the tech and gadgetry within the house has a steampunk look and design. And being a fan of steampunk, this makes me happy. Number 6, it was nearly shot in 3D. Yep, there was originally an idea for 13 Ghosts to be released in 3D, a whole 10 years before the gimmick made a comeback thanks to Avatar. Okay, so making 13 Ghosts 3D actually goes back to the original movie, as that movie had a gimmick where audiences can see the ghosts in the movie if they put on special 3D glasses, to keep with the movie's premise of seeing ghosts through special eyeglasses. As the movie was shot in black and white, what would happen is the movie's picture would turn blue, which was a signal for the audience to put on the 3D glasses, and thus be able to see the ghosts. And if you didn't want to see the ghosts, then you didn't have to put the glasses on, which is actually a pretty cool gimmick, especially for its time. However, the idea of making the remake a 3D movie was scrapped. Once again, probably because Avatar hadn't been invented yet, and thus the 3D craze of the early 2010s hadn't arrived yet. Number 5, Backstories of the Ghosts. So 13 Ghosts has really interesting, terrifying, and even tragic ghosts, all of whom have interesting backstories. The ghosts in the remake are original, as in the 1960 version, the ghosts felt a little generic, as they consisted of an Italian chef, a skeleton, a wailing lady, a floating head, sinister hands, and yeah, you get the point. To me, the most interesting ghosts in the original is the ghost of a lion, with its headless lion tamer. Now in the remake itself, we actually don't learn too much about the ghosts' backstories. But over the years, thanks to DVD special features and production notes, information has surfaced, which has given us a fascinating backstory into the ghosts. First up, there's the Juggernaut, aka Horace Breaker Mahoney, the most brutal and scary of the ghosts. He suffered abandonment issues after his mum left as a child, where he would grow to have a large frame and build, and was unusually strong, where his dad put him to work in a junkyard, and after his dad died he completely lost his sanity, and would tear motorists and hitchhikers apart with his bare hands, and feed their remains to his dogs. This was until he was killed by a SWAT team. Then there's the Jackal, aka Ryan Kunn, who was born in 1887, who had a really disturbing dislike of women and would horrifically attack young women in the night that he would find. Trying to cure his criminal behaviour, he checked himself into an asylum, which actually made him more insane, and when the asylum caught on fire, he chose to stay and perish in the flames. Then there's the Hammer, aka George McEely, a blacksmith from the Old West, who after he was accused for a crime he didn't commit, his family was lynched by an angry mob, which caused him to go on a murderous spree, where he lost his hand and replaced it with a hammer, where he was eventually chained to a tree and had road spikes driven into his body. Ouch. The Dire Mother and the Great Child, aka Margaret and Harold Shelbourne. This mother and son duo ghost team come from an old freak show circus. Harold never grew out of being a baby, and even as a grown man wore diapers and spoke in baby talk. After Margaret was murdered by some of the other circus performers, Harold went on a killing spree, till he himself was killed by the circus's ringleader. The Pilgrimess, aka Isabella Smith, who arrived in America from England, who was accused of being a witch after animals and crops mysteriously died, as well as surviving a burning barn. She died of starvation when the townspeople put a wooden device on her head known as a pillory. The Angry Princess, aka Dana Newman, a woman of more recent times who was obsessed with plastic surgery in order to fix her flaws. But she was left with a deformed eye when one of the surgical procedures went wrong, which caused her to take her own life in a bathtub. The Torn Prince, aka Royce Clayton, a popular teenage baseball player from the 1950s who died after a drag race with a greaser, in which the greaser cut the brake lines in his vehicle. The Withered Lover, aka Jean Criticus. She was the loving wife and mother to the main characters, who died in a fire at a hospital 1 year before the events of the movie. The Bound Woman, aka Susan LeGros, who was a popular and rich young lady, who was murdered the night of her senior prom after her jealous ex-boyfriend caught her being intimate with another guy. The Torso, aka Jimmy the Gambler Gambino, who was a popular gambler from the early 1900s, who was murdered by the mafia after he placed a bet which he could not pay back. And finally, the Firstborn Son, aka Billy Michaels, a young boy who liked to dress up and play cowboys, which came to an end when another little boy wanted to play with Billy and fired a steel arrow into his head. All these hidden backstories actually do add a lot of depth to the ghosts in 13 Ghosts. Number 4, the ScoobyDoo Connection. Okay, so it's here we get to the cast of 13 Ghosts. The movie's main lead is Tony Shalhoub as Arthur. Incidentally, Shalhoub would go on to star in fellow ghost movie 1408 6 years later. But his character doesn't go into the actual haunted location in that movie. I guess they felt that he had been through enough in 13 Ghosts. F. Murray Abraham played the movie's big bad Cyrus, the dickhead who caused all the supernatural chaos. Abraham was probably the biggest star of the movie at the time, as he had previously appeared in many memorable movies, such as Scarface and Amadeus. And he would supposedly go on to say that he only starred in the movie for the money. And I swear in the movie they tried to make him look like producer Joel Silver. Also, the movie stars Shannon Elizabeth and Michael Lillard as Dennis and Kathy, and this casting was definitely done to appeal to the teenage market, as at the time they were both known for starring in teen movies. Elizabeth, who starred in the teen comedy American Pie, and Lillard, who starred in the teen slasher Scream. Incidentally, Elizabeth didn't know that 13 Ghosts was a remake until well into the movie's shoot. I can't blame her, I didn't know it was either. It's here we get to the ScoobyDoo Connection, as the following year Lillard would star as Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, which like 13 Ghosts was a Warner Brothers release. But that's not Scooby-Doo's only ties to 13 Ghosts, as the two franchises have a connection that goes all the way back to 1985, when there was a 13 Ghosts themed Scooby-Doo series called The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. And the Scooby-Doo movie was filmed at the same Australian studios with the same special effects crew as 13 Ghosts production company Dark Castle's next movie, Ghost Ship. So it seems the existence of Scooby-Doo and 13 Ghosts seem to be intertwined, like the fabric of the universe have fused them together, and one can't exist without the other. Or something like that.
So you know what this means, right? Yeah, come on, you know it, right? You know what this means? Wow! This means... I have absolutely no clue.
Number 3. Hidden details. Yeah, there's a lot of tiny details spread throughout 13 Ghosts that you probably wouldn't have noticed unless you were really observing the movie closely. And some of these tiny little Easter eggs that are hidden within the movie are just weird. Well, here are just a few of them. The glass house in the movie was designed after the New York Museum of Science. In the scene where the lawyer gets split, you can hear a ghostly wailing in the background. Well, someone with way too much time on their hands, hey, not saying it's a bad thing, sped up that sound 4 times its speed, where you can hear a woman's voice saying, "Nobody cares," which is really creepy. The strange writing seen on the glass walls is in fact the Lord's Prayer in Latin. And this is the strangest missing piece of the jigsaw, as the katana sword that was used in the Highlander TV series makes a cameo in 13 Ghosts. Why? I don't know.
Well, this is because... once again, I have absolutely no clue.
Number 2. The audience felt sick. So 13 Ghosts was released in October the 26th, 2001, and it was a critical and financial failure, as it made $68.5 million on a $42 million budget. Now, although it did make some money, the money it did make didn't recoup the finances spent on the marketing of the movie. So yeah, financially it was a disaster. The critics were less than kind too, with critics feeling that the movie just wasn't scary and predictable, and it was also felt that it was kind of dumb. Well, that's at least what the New York Times thought anyway. However, one of the most shocking claims to come out of 13 Ghosts' cinematic run was that it, according to IMDb, could actually make audiences physically ill, thanks to the use of strobe special effects and certain distorted sound effects. It was felt that the strobe effects could even be seizure-inducing. So, it's really no wonder 13 Ghosts didn't sell. It's a remake of a movie that a lot of people probably hadn't heard of, that got terrible reviews from critics, which could also make you sick if you watch it. Surprisingly enough though, Roger Ebert actually gave the movie some praise, saying that he loved the production design of 13 Ghosts, and that the movie's presentation in general looks splendid. However, that sadly didn't stop him from hating on the movie too, and he would go on to put it in his 2005 list of most hated movies. Ouch.
Seriously? Seriously? There is a lot, and I mean a lot of movies that this man saw, and 13 Ghosts is among the worst? Really?
Number 1. A course correction for Dark Castle. Yeah, 13 Ghosts' release woes didn't end there either, as due to the box office failings of 13 Ghosts and the negative reviews of The House on Haunted Hill, Warner Bros. Decided that it wasn't going to distribute any more remakes based on William Castle's movies. This caused a change of direction for the production company Dark Castle Entertainment, as it was a company solely based on remaking William Castle movies as mentioned. So for their next movie, Dark Castle went with an original script, which was of course, Ghost Ship. The company would continue to make horror movies, including Gothica, the House of Wax remake, and Orphan. And it even sidestepped away from producing horror movies, making other movies like Rock'n'Roller, Ninja Assassin, and Suburbicon, of which I swear no one talks about that movie, which is a shame as it's a brilliant film. But anyway, getting back on track, 13 Ghosts' bad reputation did seem to follow it, even being reduced to just being sold on home media as a double bill with the House of Wax remake. But very recently I've noticed the popularity of this movie has continued to grow, and it is in the process of finding more of a fan appreciation. So 13 Ghosts is becoming a cult movie. It's what I like to call a cult movie in progress. It's like people have finally gone back to watch it and realised, hey, it's not so bad after all. In fact, it's kind of good. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie and say that the movie isn't without its problems. I think the script in particular definitely needed some polishing. And it was edited like a hyperactive 9-year-old on an absolute sugar high. Like, I've gotta say, the editing is all over the place with this one. But all said and done, it's a perfectly fun and enjoyable popcorn ghost movie, and it didn't deserve all the negativity that it got. And once again, I can't express enough how much the design of this movie is truly sensational.
List of worst movies, my butt! Sorry if the ghost of Ebert is watching this, but I really do not agree with that evaluation. But hey, each to their own, I guess. I would say that 13 Ghosts is a perfect double bill with Ghost Ship. Although, I do think that Ghost Ship is a slightly better movie, and overall, a better made movie. But hey, they still complement each other. So it's time to dust off the old DVDs and watch 13 Ghosts once again. Anyway, I'm Minty, and just like the lawyer from 13 Ghosts, I've got a split. See ya! Only, I mean, I've really got a split, not get, split. See ya! That scene was pretty gross though, wasn't it? It was really icky. I can remember the first time I saw it, I was like, ew! Yeah, I'm gonna go now.